All right, we are live. Alafia Mandala, baby for Foday Ajamu, your favorite warrior, Blak Pantha in the building with a special guest today. We got a bona fide chief, grassroots organizer, and a brother out of Sierra Leone. We got Chief Foday Ajamu. What's going on, brother?
Greetings, brother. How you doing, man? Shout out
I'm
to
doing
everybody
well.
out there.
Doing well. I'm glad to have you on, man. Big fan of your work, what you do out there in the continent, leading the tours, educating our people about the Gullah Geeche connection to Sierra Leone. Had to have you on this show, brother. Had to have you grace the MossiWarriorClan channel. Give us a short intro, brother. Give us for the people that don't know you.
Well, my name is formerly Chief Foday Ajamu Mensaray. Now I'm a Gullah Geeche. My mother was a Gullah Geeche. My grandfather on my father's side was from Savannah. He's a Geeche. But I personally was born and raised in Pennsylvania. Growing up, I spent summers down south, going home, going down Orangeburg, going down different areas, Beaufort, where my family still lives to this day. And also spent about 3 years, maybe 3 years, in Greenville and Easley, South Carolina, which is more up in the north, west of the state. But so I'm very familiar with the culture, grew up in it. My mama was a person who would tell you proudly that she Geeche. You always hear people talk about how Gullah Geeche people were kind of ostracized, stigmatized, because we had a different culture. We ate different foods. We had different staples. We would celebrate holidays and family gatherings differently than other people. And growing up in the north, for myself, it made the identity more impactful to me, because my household was a migrant household. My household moved from South Carolina in 1972. I was born in 1979, but in Pennsylvania. So my family had never severed their ties from our kinfolk down south. So for me, I just felt like I was a Southerner born in the north, and so I'm Gullah Geeche. I definitely understand what it is. Grew up in the culture. I understand it. My grandmother was a notorious hoodoo woman, priestess. And people who care to know can really trace it back and go see if I'm telling the truth or not. But either way, I'm a Gullah Geeche. I'm also a Pan-Africanist. Now, Pan-Africanism is a very broad term. And so I think you have to be distinct with how you explain it. Some people would think Pan-African and apply it to everything. Everybody's explanation of Pan-Africanism. But for me, I prefer to be more specific. I'm a Garveyite. I particularly believe also in the unity and ultimate liberation of Africa and African people. But the trajectory of my thinking and the way that I see things is in line with the Garveyite tradition and philosophy of seeing things. So even as I'm a Gullah Geeche, I'm functioning as a philosophical and practical Garveyite. That's who I am in terms of my makeup. I've been able to discover 2 lineages in Africa that I know that I relate to. One is I'm a Mandinka ancestry, and I'm also a Bamileke ancestry of Cameroon. And I'm sure there's many, many more out there. I see people finding one group and just forgetting that we have thousands and thousands of ancestors, and just isolating on one. But my own Pan-African spirit won't allow me to do that. I believe that Gullah Geeche identity is truly a Pan-African identity, that the people came from many African places, and so their cultural contributions came from many African sources. And if we could create Gullah Geeche or Pan-Africanism today, it will resemble some of the policies that our ancestors had to adopt into our culture, despite being enslaved, while in isolation, while in resistance to chattel enslavement. Those secrets that we kept, that define us now, that wouldn't have happened without the Middle Passage. And so it's always important to always clarify that when we talk about Gullah Geeche people and Pan-Africanism, we're talking about maybe one of the earliest expressions of Pan-Africanism within the Western Hemisphere. Where some people can take Gullah Geeche ancestry in terms of African people who were enslaved that stepped foot in South Carolina or Georgia or North Carolina or anywhere within that cultural heritage area, that region right there, all the way back to 1526. You know, when the Spanish first went there, long before the British and the French and whoever else went there. So we literally can mark African history back to that within that region. Some people are coming with new ideals that are turning these Africans, our ancestors, into Aboriginal, Indigenous, Native Americans. And I think there's a difference. There was a difference even in the Gullah Wars, you know, that there's a black side of this and then there's a red side of this. And they're not the same people. And we never got it mixed up until now that people are thirsty for identity. Some people are trying their hardest to connect back to the African roots, and some people are trying their hardest not to connect back to the African roots. And so I think that what's going on within the Gullah Geeche culture is going on in the African culture all around the world, actually. So I look at Gullah Geeche as, one, who I am, but also as part and parcel of the worldwide African liberation struggle. And so inside we have some of the same palavers, some of the same fights, some of the same misunderstandings. We have people who are Gullah Geeche. You know, they can say, look, this is my grandfather, he's from here, and you can go back to that county and to that place and get documents to say that this is this person's grandfather. And they be born in California. They be born in Jamaica. And automatically, once you're a Gullah Geeche and you leave the Gullah Geeche corridor, you're no longer a Gullah Geeche. But your ancestors could have left the continent of Africa 200, 300 years ago, and you can get a DNA test today and run back across the Atlantic and be accepted into a group here. So there's contradictions even within the Gullah Geeche community, and we've been really fighting to overturn that. So some of the things that we have going on, just so I can give a better preview of my work and what I do. Since 1999, following my mother's footsteps, along with my sister, my older brother, and my stepfather, we became community organizers. We basically joined a community organization that was already getting training, they already were getting resources to help local people to begin to address some of the issues in the community. And so, of course, with recruitment comes training. So I received volunteer grassroots community training at the age of 20 years old. And even though I still was young, still was a knucklehead, it really planted a seed and it penetrated me to the point that no matter how good I was doing or how bad I was doing, I've always remained consistent with finding ways to voluntarily give of myself, of my talents, of my time, to see how best it can impact positive change in the Black community. And so that was 1999. It's now 2021. I'm 42 years old. So that means that for 22 years of my life, I've been actively serving our communities, no matter where I'm at. I mean, I have a trail. You can go to Tampa, Florida. They're going to say, yes, we know that brother. You can go to Atlanta. Yes, we know that brother. You can go to Baltimore. Yes, we know that brother. Philadelphia. Yes, we know that brother. You know, because when you're really involved in the work, it really is a volunteer service. No one going to jump out and pay you to liberate Africans. It don't happen like that. And so, you know, just having that kind of commitment, it started with just being a volunteer community organizer with my family in my community. And from there, you know, it just opened up something in me where I had so many questions. Because on one side, of course, growing up in the hood, we was being demonized. We was being targeted. We was being told that somehow what we say and do and how we walk and how we talk and how we dance and all that shit is inferior. And I mean, just like everybody else in my neighborhood, I ate it up. That's what it was. That's why we could be reckless, because we inferior. You know what I'm saying? We could be savage. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to be savage. When you're not savage, people look at you strange. And so just that whole cultural environment that bred myself and many, many millions of African men in the United States and women in the United States, the same way, that same environment. And so at that young age, I was pulled into that, but I didn't have a lot of information about Africa. And I didn't have a lot of explanation about how we got from Africa to the United States, and then how my own family, my own mama, my own pops, how they ended up together where they were when I was born. So Marcus Garvey said, man, you know, a people without knowledge of their history is like a tree without its roots. And it's the same thing for every single person. If it's about the people, then apply it to the person. Each of us should be trying to know as much as we can about our roots and accepting it all. And understanding that you can't change who you are. Just be yourself. And so I think within that, there's higher and lower levels of education and intelligence. There's higher and lower levels of humility and ego. And personalities clash. And so at the end of the day, I got some training. Actually, the organization was getting AmeriCorps training. Now y'all know about AmeriCorps. It's a regular United States happy-go-lucky charitable kind of organization that does a lot of work, like Peace Corps, quote unquote, in the in Africa and other places of the world. Whereas we didn't work with them or for them, but they provided the training to our staff, to the people that trained us, and then they trained us as the local community organizers in how to go out and do surveys in the community, how to go out and organize cleanups, how to follow the city councils to make sure that you understand what decisions they're making and how it's going to impact your life and the life of your neighbors in your community. So I began to get involved in that, and then I had to understand all those other questions, who I am and what is the struggle that I'm now involved in. And that led me out ultimately to all kinds of angles, man. I revisited my religious beliefs. I revisited my daily spending. I revisited myself. I'm like, yo, I had to check myself. And in that process, there's a transformation. So I'd say maybe from about 2001 to about 2006, I went through a deep stage of transformation, man. Became a vegan, let my locks grow. I know that a lot of people are just doing it for like fashion now. But for me, it was a commitment to the war that I seen that we're locked into. So my locks wasn't dreadlocks or Rasta locks, they was war locks. That's how I seen them, that's how I defined them. Like, as long as we fighting this war, I gotta have them, unless, a time or a stage come where I chop them, and I chop them, But at that time, that's the focus I was in. Back in that time, man, you had Dead Prez kicking RBG, you had the youth that was inside of the conscious movement at the time really gravitating towards a hip-hop orientation of the lessons so that we could get it down to the people like our own brothers and sisters who was calling us strange because we had woke up. So to make it hit, we took it to the hop. You know what I'm saying? And so you had this happen, and you even had early stages of it back in the early 90s with people like Ascari X out in Oakland. Shout out to Ascari X, first one ever to take RBG and use it as righteous black guerrillas. And he was a member of the Uhuru movement. He was representing the red, black, green flag. And so that's very important to notify because Tupac Amaru Shakur also was in Oakland around this same time. And of course, we know that Pac was a son of the movement. He was a Panther Cub. And so that area produced this vibe within hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And then when Dead Prez came later, and now you got so many different artists that stick to the bullet points of revolutionary black nationalism within their articulation of hip hop. And it's a very powerful thing. We underestimate ourselves because, we ain't getting paid for doing this, but really if we ain't doing it, then a lot of stuff ain't changing. Because even now, when you fast forward to just a few years ago, you find that during the Black Lives Matter, this flag started flying up. It started flying up. The popularity of the flag and the colors, we don't always realize that if certain people wasn't pushing it at the grassroots, underground, while we was fighting the struggle to get our political prisoners out of prison. While we was trying to enlighten the brothers in the streets, yo, it's a trap. I've been there and did that. While we was trying to do our righteous walk. And so today I can see that a lot of what was being put into place in the first decade of the 21st century has been co-opted, and groups have been broken up, and individuals can't stand alone. And so I would like to see that movement get stronger. When I left in 2013 and came to Africa, I strongly identify with that vibe right there, man. You know, the Black Selection Network International, the organization that I had as the executive director and founder, we was launched out of that spirit right there, man. Like, you know, our generation, I'm 42, so my generation is maybe 5 years up and below. You know what I'm saying? To really take the mic, to take the stance, and really give our elders and our ancestors the respect they deserve, and let them lead the way, but always be lockstep with them. And so we were trying to change the policy in the movement as dudes pretty much from the hood. You know what I mean? So I got involved with the Yahoo movement in 2007. There was some political unrest in my city. Basically, I say unrest, even though the people was dead asleep. Albizo, I forget this guy, Gonzalez. He was the Attorney General under George Bush Jr. And he came with this federal anti-gang initiative. And so I started investigating that. I said, man, what is this? And come to find out that they were beginning to do tests in 8 different areas to see how they were going to create this new anti-gang task force that would be a federally gang thing. And right now you see them just rallying up 20, 30 dudes, and they might not have no direct affiliation, and they might not share no part in no crime, but somehow, some way, they holding them in the feds. Well, they was creating the context for that to happen back then. And so we wanted to launch a campaign to bring awareness. One, let the people in the streets know, yo, man, they're not playing with you. And on the second hand, also make it clear that just because we all look alike, don't mean that we all doing the same thing. And then on top of that, you can't confuse urban clothes for gang attire. You can't say exaggerated uses of mousse in a woman's hair or gel in a woman's hair is a potential sign that she might be affiliated with gangsters. And so we investigated and found all this crap that was coming out of the federal government, but they was pipelining it down on a regional basis. And so I'm from York, Pennsylvania. That's the south central region of Pennsylvania. I live about 30 minutes away from the capital city, the state capital, Harrisburg. And then maybe 30 minutes away from Lancaster. They always talk about the Amish, the cows. And then I'm about 45 minutes away from Baltimore. And so about an hour and 15 minutes away from Philly. So that's the region in case people don't understand. So that region right there became a big zone for drug dealers, particularly from the major cities back in the 80s and the 90s, and maybe even up to the day, I don't know. But back then, I know for sure that many of the people who were showing up in these smaller cities, in these more isolated regions, were coming from the bigger cities, and they was able to make a killing because something that would sell for $5 in New York in the streets would sell for $20 in the streets in Pennsylvania in a small town. So people was chasing that money, and a lot of people came from New York. And then if you know people from New York, they tell you that the projects and the low income public housing population, many of the people have shifted down to New Jersey, down to Pennsylvania. And so there's been, over the last maybe 30 years, a whole mix-up, box-up in that region. And so culturally, people resemble each other more than what they originally did. You know, Philly is a lot more, it resembles New York a lot more than it used to. It used to have a distinct character and personality of the zones. That's why W.E.B. Du Bois wrote about the Philadelphia Negro. It was a particular kind of culture there. And we can hear it even in neo-soul music. If you watch and you listen to the lyrics of the music that comes out of there, the different vibes, Philly was a zone for itself. And so, but now it's very mixed up. And I think that a lot of that is because the young population got swept into the drug trade. And then them populations had that culture and it mixed up and boxed up. But either way, the federal government has said that, well, Route 222 that brings you into this region was one of them zones to watch. And so they was basically testing these zones. They was going to begin putting federal money there down into the local police precincts for them to create special gang task force. And then the police would get a whole bunch of extra, overtime money and extra money for the bus. And they would do the feds job as local police. And they was using these criteria to determine who might be a potential gangster. And the criteria would have made all of us gangsters. And so we rallied for that. And because it's more of a protest thing, we reached out to different organizations. But to tell you the truth, most of the pro-Black nationalist organizations, they're not involved in too many political struggles. You don't see them protesting. You don't see them, actually hands-on involved with the justice campaign, unfortunately. But myself, I want to be involved in that. So we organized that. First of all, we organized a group of youth in the community called the York City Hip Hop Alliance. Got a whole bunch of hip hop rappers and people who were respected in the community for their crafts. Got them together. Then we tried to do a truce in the streets because there was two sides of town that was fighting to the point that one young boy, he got shot after school. So we intervened because we knew his pops, we knew him. We're like, yo, man, we had to get to the nitty gritty. No police involved. This is a community affair. And so we were doing that work, did our little peace vigil and all that. And then we were like, yo, these pigs are starting to look at us stupid. So we were like, man, we need to reach out because this is little old York, Pennsylvania, 50,000 people. We need to reach out to other organizations and let them know that we're making this stand and that we need some backup. And the only organization that answered the call was the Uhuru movement. Now, I'm no longer a member. I was only there for 2 years, and I left because of what I would consider irreconcilable differences, contradictions that myself I just couldn't live with. But in terms of having an active organization that had a media platform that could help get your voice out, that had other organizers spread across the world who was being supported in the same kind of way, it empowered us at the local area. And so I was a member of the Uhuru movement for 2 years. Just like Fred Hampton Jr. was a member of the Uhuru movement. Just like Stickman and M1 were members of the Uhuru movement. Just like Askari X was a member of the Uhuru movement. There's connections there. There's historical connections here to people that really basically been swept under the rug and nobody even knows who they are. And so I joined and we took the movement to a higher level. That following summer, man, we went and we campaigned against the stop and frisk in Philadelphia and Baltimore. That same summer, leading to the summer, we organized the ALD down at the Thurgood Marshall Center down in Washington, D.C. So I was actively involved in that. And some of the positions I held was, I was a part of the political party, the African People's Socialist Party. And I served as a Northeast Regional Agitational Propagandist. I was the agitational propaganda. I was responsible for getting the word out to the people and disseminating it in a way where the average Joe, 5-year-old kid, could hear me talk and get it. And then also to help with the publishing of the Burning Spear newspaper, editing that down, and just also doing a lot of training, training people in that, in outreach, training people in agitational propaganda. We would have party schools. People will come from Toronto, from New York, from Baltimore, from DC, to a single party school, and we might spend 2 days, political education, physical training, outreach, campaigning, and then everybody disperse and go back to their cities. And so all of that had to happen under the direction of the Northeast Regional Coordinating Committee, and agitational propagandists. I taught that. I taught the community outreach. That's where I was at. And then in the International Mass Organization, I served as the International Outreach Coordinator. So I was responsible in PDOM to help to coordinate affairs on the International Coordinating Committee. That would, if something was happening in Sierra Leone, I would know because I'm the international coordinator. If something was happening in France, I would know because I'm the international coordinator of the mass movement.
Let me ask you this, Chief. Let me ask you this, Chief. Was that an international experience? Is that what first got you interested in repatriating to Sierra Leone?
Well, the thing about it is that I've always had a desire. Once I began to learn back in the early 2000s, man, once I began to learn about the movement and I began to really look at Marcus Garvey and really feel that and envision our great leaders, man, and just see the struggle, I myself identified with it instantly because I came from the struggle. I'm a son of the struggle. I come from the bottom, come from the mud. So I immediately identified with that. And of course, I always had the ideal it'd be dope to go to Africa. But what sparked me with repatriation is like what you said, brother. Being in direct contact with Pan-Africanists and community organizers that were literally doing the same thing that I was doing in my community for their communities, and being in a movement that was connecting these different groups. And so, and then being in the position to be an international outreach coordinator. That means that all of them groups, when they had to reach out to the international, I'm their coordinator. And so that was very, very key. And I served in these positions for 2 years. Now, ultimately, I walked away from them. I resigned. And after I resigned, I realized that to truly be a revolutionary African in modern times, you cannot be organizationless. You can have a theory, you can have a strategy, all that. But you must be organized. Shout out to Kwame Ture. Organization, organization, organization. It don't matter what organization you're in, if the shoe fit, wear it. But be organized. And if you can't find an organization that fits your feet, create one. Create one. And so I took on the responsibility to create the kind of organization that my education, my experience, and my drive that I thought I could do well. And create organization not for myself, but to exist as a network of individuals who actually agree with Garveyism, who actually agree with grassroots volunteer community organizing, who actually understand that while we have to have scholars who read and study and research and get the knowledge out, we need people who know how to educate the masses about that. We need people who on the grassroots level who knows how to keep city councils accountable. We need people who know how to check the police in the community when they get out of control without it being militant posturing and rhetoric. Know how to deal with these folk. You know what I'm saying? And so that civil force, that force that's gonna rock. We need that, and we need it everywhere. And so after I resigned from the Yuhu movement, it was on bad terms. Just to be honest, I won't go into it, but it was on bad terms. It wasn't friendly. And I walked away. I was younger then, man. I ain't want, man, fuck y'all, man. You know, that was my attitude back then. And I started thinking about it, and Black Star Action Network came to me. And I'm like, yo, I'm gonna start organizing this. And I reached out to some of my comrades. We started organizing around the concept. Although it wasn't until 2011 that we finally formed our formal committee and went to launch in 2012. And since then, we went from the Black Star Action Network in Tampa, Florida, with a national network, to when I repatriated to Sierra Leone, we added the I to the back. It became Basani, Black Star Action Network International. And I registered a community-based organization here when I got here, and we was immediately organizing because I had the experience of knowing how to organize. And I knew the organizational level in different African countries at the time. If I want to go to Ghana, I could have gone there. If I want to go to Nigeria, I could go there. I know people there who was at the grassroots that was organizing. But now this is where me being a Gullah Geeche and the kind of relationship that I was able to actually develop with the Sierra Leonean brothers and sisters that was connected to the movement through my work. I realized that a lot of the issues in Africa could be solved through better volunteer community organizing. I realized that you combat tribalism with Pan-Africanism. So if you can carry a Pan-African volunteer organization and go through the struggle of teaching the people by example that this form of organizing can make your community better, then I believe that Africans in Africa are very intelligent and just waiting for the right formula. And so I was inspired, man. I was inspired by being able to assist the brothers and sisters over here. And I always tell the story that, you know, if I'm not a sniper, you know, I'll run up on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, from America, I was doing so much work that was assisting people in Africa and work that was assisting people in America that I began to realize that there's contradictions on the both sides. And for me at that time, it didn't matter which side I was going to be doing the work. So I had the opportunity to expand, and I really want to do it. I didn't go to college, man. You know what I mean? I dropped out of high school. I got a GED later on. You know what I'm saying? But that didn't mean that I didn't want to like have experience. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things I always wanted to do was travel. And before I sit and tell you about what something is, I would like to see it and know it for myself. And so it just became a journey for me, man. When we first launched, shout out to the late Malcolm Latif Shabazz Al-Hajj. He was a strong supporter of the BSAM when we first started in the United States. A member, in fact. We organized a tour together. Dude was under so much pressure, man. Man, they had bro going crazy out there, man. And he was like this. You know, he was like this, man. So, but despite that, we would make time to hook up. We would make time to link up physically and build. You know what I'm saying? And stayed in contact. But bro was under a lot of pressure, and a lot of rejection. You know, the black community was rejecting bro. You know what I'm saying? The RBG, all this conscious movement and all that shit. Some niggas felt like they wanted to compete with bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy, man. Looking back, because I was actually that close and that involved. You know, if he had an issue, he might hit me up. Yo, bro, man, these niggas crazy. You know? And I'd be like, yo, just chill out. Don't worry about that. You know, be a brother
Chief,
to him.
you talk about your journey to becoming a chief and your position where you at right now. How? Because you know, African Americans, you know, we hear about repatriates coming home and getting those honors. You know, talk about that and how it shaped and molded you and pushed you in the direction that you're going to.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up, because you have honorable chiefs, and then you have customary chiefs. You got chiefs that actually have authority when they meet with another chief that got authority. It's not just an honorary basis. You have what you call tourism chiefs. When you come on a tour, they'll give it to you. Hey, you're a chief. Go home. Bring some money. You know. And then I'm trying to tell you what it is, because this is the real platform right here. This is the Warrior Clan. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna give you straight up game. It's a tourist fixture. They know that we're dislocated and that we want African names and we want to feel honored. We want to come back and feel royal. We don't want to come back and feel normal. We want to come back and feel like we're have a high status. And so the people on the ground are just trying to appreciate you and let you know that you're now a part of them, and that usually when they align you with a family, they're aligning you with a royal family. They're aligning you with a chief family. And so, I mean, I'm not saying it's bogus, but I'm saying that in the real sense of how I became a Gullah Geeche chief. One, I've been a Gullah Geeche all my life. I learned about being a Geeche as a child. I didn't read it in the book. I learned it from my mother's mouth. My family know we Geeche. We talk that talk, walk that talk, cook that food, chum that food, all that. So I'm not confused about being a Geeche, first of all. Now, in the history of Gullah Geeche people in the 21st century, reclaiming our identity and returning to our source, our own Sankofa, you'll find that there's people who have been, I'll say, privileged to be born and raised within the quote-unquote corridor, the Low Country and Sea Islands and the surrounding area, unlike myself, that feel as though they're more entitled to the identity than someone who may be a Gullah Geeche born in Chicago like Michelle Obama. You understand that? So it's that kind of prejudice, that kind of oh, your family went away and left us here, so no. And so we run into that stigma. The Gullah Geeche kids who was born in New York and born in Cleveland and born in Los Angeles, that got living relatives in Monk's Corner, in Charleston, on them islands that they know. Even when we go back and we claim our identity, you'll find people on the ground who are monopolizing the identity for resources. And they will act like you don't belong there. No. And so I understand the contradiction in that, and many, many, many other people understand the contradiction in that. So as a person who's directly impacted by that kind of thing, well, my family had our family reunion in 2005 in Charleston, South Carolina. My family, literally, I got ancestors who fought in the USCT, you know, on 45 acres in Dorchester, Ridgeville, heart of the corridor. You know what I'm saying? Rice country. And not that far away. I got all the documents, everything. I know exactly who I am. So to meet that kind of political monopoly there and see that the federal government has fixed their eye on so-called protecting them people. Now the British government, after they had the colony of Freetown here in Sierra Leone, in order to colonize the rest of the country, they established a protectorate. They went and they installed chiefs. They put chiefs that they would put on the payroll in power so that they could colonize the country. And they told the chiefs, well, you have your sovereignty. It's still your kingdom. But now I'm going to rent you. And you're going to make sure that all the resources and everything that I need from your area come to me. And it's almost the same thing that I see the U.S. federal government lining up to do with the Gullah Geeche culture. And so they need people there that are quote unquote chiefs, just like in South Sierra Leone in 1898, so that they can pay them in many different ways. Support your program, throw you a grant, you know, invite you to the events that you're going to get paid honorarium for, all these things. And so it becomes a situation where now the federal government has a hand in determining who is and who is not Gullah Geeche based on geography and not based on our lineage, not based on the people. And so only because that region is where the culture and the language is so preserved, they are literally isolating and detaching the majority of the people that would be the descendants of Gullah Geeche people from that region. And so understanding that contradiction and having tried to build a relationship with those who were there already, while I was here in Sierra Leone in 2014, Ebola came. And before I left, I already began to investigate what groups are here in Sierra Leone that I could partner with in terms of building a bridge between Gullah Geeche people and Sierra Leone. And I discovered a group called the Sierra Leone Gullah Kinship Association. And I also reached out to the Gullah Geeche Nation. And I reached out to see if, and introduce myself and see if and how I could be part of making that relationship stronger. I was told on one hand that there's no interest in Sierra Leone. And we don't know where them people at, but you can go find them. And on the other hand, when we got here, I began to go to the government, to the people who should know, and they was giving me the runaround about this group. I didn't come across this group formally until 2018, and I've been here since 2013. So for 5 years, I'm looking for this group. And people in America who know the group are not helping me to connect with the group. And people here in the government here are acting like they don't know where the group is at. I went to the radio stations here, everything, like calling them out. Yo, if you out there, man, you my people. I want to meet you. I want to sit down and understand what's going on, and how me and others like me who are Gullah Geeches and Pan-Africanists can work together to bring something to Salome. And so it was a lot of stigmas, a lot of backhanding, shunning, and things like that going on. In 2014, I started reaching out to other Gullah Geeche elders who will understand where I'm coming from. And one of them is Foday Ajamu Ogunyele McLennan, dynamic elder, good brother. He's actually, his roots go back to Orangeburg, my mama and my brothers and sisters from, my aunties, uncles, and all them from. And shoot, we might even be relatives, man. You know, but he was born and raised in New York. But every summer in his childhood, according to Gullah Geeche tradition, his parents went home and they took him with them and he got exposure. And later on, he went down there for college. He ended up teaching at the college. You know what I'm saying? So I reached out to him, an elder I knew since before I came to Africa. I know he's a Garveyite, I know he's a Pan-African. He got to understand where I'm coming from with this. What's going on? I need answers. Why am I being treated like I'm not a Gullah Geeche when obviously these people know each other and can easily say, yo, this is our brother. So Ebola happened. We hooked up with other elders like Baba Darrell Orange, St. Helena. He there right now. We hooked up with Baba Harold Hillary, rest in peace, the late man, the first paramount chief of the Gullah Nation of North America, which is where I'm going with this. Youth people like Brother Kenyatta Hayward, another strong Gullah Geeche brother. He down in Tampa, Florida, where I left from. I left from Tampa, Florida. Before I came to Africa, I was living in Tampa. You understand? And so we begin to organize ourselves and begin to understand some of the contradictions, and we begin to research the existing organizations and the claims that they make. And we discovered a lot of lies. We discovered that media is a powerful tool. You can parade anybody in front of the media enough, and everyone will believe that it's legitimate. And we also realized that a lot of the support and a lot of the Gullah Geeche identity is only focused on Charleston and only South Carolina. Now, I'm a South Carolina Geeche, but I do notice that it's like a South Carolina thing, and that's not true. That's just not true. Georgia, especially when it comes to people who directly relate to Sierra Leone, West Africa, is a haven for Gullah Geeche culture. And it may be a different variety of it in different places, but Florida get it jumping too. All the way down to Jacksonville and beyond. We're not talking about the federal borders that they're saying is the corridor. We're talking about them people who actually got cousins and relatives in the neighboring counties across the state and counting them family members as Gullah Geeches. Stop putting us into a geographical territory where once you're not in it, you're not a Gullah Geeche no more. So you can eat all the resources in the Gullah Geeche corridor. So we peeped what was happening. And we realized that what is Gullah Geeche? Gullah Geeche is an ethnic group. It's an ethnicity of people, just like the Maroons in Jamaica. You know, yes, we're quote unquote the same ethnicity as the rest of the Africans who are descendants of the Middle Passage in the United States of America. Yes, we're all one group of people. We have one historic experience. But that region and that culture and those lineages back then and today carry a distinct ethnicity among themselves. And there's no other ethnic group in the world that has the same exact characteristics. So this is an ethnic group that was born out of the Middle Passage. This is an ethnic group that was born out of people from the Congo, people from Nigeria, people from Ghana, people from Senegambia, Senegal, Gambia, Mali, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivoria, Benin, Cameroon, Angola, Madagascar, you name it. And all ended up in them Charleston ports and in them Savannah ports and on them South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Sierra Leone, Sea Islands, and along that low country. It wasn't just rice, it was indigo and cotton too. But we know that the culture comes from the rice cultivators, which is why Sierra Leone stands out particularly, because we know the connection. And so the cultural creators came from many different sources, but the seed group of the culture have a distinct connection to the people of Sierra Leone. And some people are offended by that. I don't know why. I mean, it just is what it is. Don't we want to know who we are, where we come from? You know? And so like that. At the end of the day, we said, well, as an ethnic group, we know that we have a right to self-determination. We know that we have a right to form an association, a community for ourselves, to maintain ourselves, and to carry out our own interests in this world. And so that's what we were doing. You understand, eh?
Absolutely. Hey, Chief, real quick, for the audience, Chief, real quick.
And then at the end of the day, we formed what we call the Gullah Nation of North America. And it took shape as an unincorporated association. Now, you can incorporate association, or it can remain unincorporated. And so legally, we birthed ourselves on July 2nd, 2015. And what made us do it was that Ebola was here. For over a year, I was already campaigning out here, going in and out of vulnerable communities, raising awareness, using hip hop, RBG, yo, 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 Ebola, day, bing, bing. Gravitating to the youth who was most exposed, the ones who were exposing the most people, and giving them slogans and little hooks and shit that they can say when I'm not there that can keep awareness going. And so we did that. I went to Guinea Conakry, Touré City, and was there for 6 months doing the same thing. They speak French, but I had my Sierra Leonean brothers that I could talk to that could interpret it to the French, and the word was spreading even in their language. So while we were doing this, I was reaching out to the Gullah Geeche community saying, yo, what's up? We don't care about this area, these people. This is our zone. And I was getting snubbed. I was being told, particularly from Queen Quet of the Gullah Geeche Nation, to go to the government here, work with them. You're already there, so work with them people there. Basically, I'm not going to work with you. Work with what you got going on over there. And shortly after that, the Dialing Roof situation happened in Charleston. And we were pissed. And we were waiting to see what was going to come out of that nation. What were the leaders want to say and do? And it was a very weak response. And from there, we was like, you know what? This is our sign, man. Our people need better representation. We need an inclusive policy that defines Gullah Geeche by the people who are Gullah Geeche. No matter where we are in the world, let's break this corridor consciousness and this corridor colony and reconnect with Africa. Now, I see here it says explain the connection to Sierra Leone.
Yeah, I wanted you to go in on that, bro.
All right. So in 1670, a group of British colonizers who were formerly based in Barbados, they took up and they migrated from Barbados and went and established Charleston, South Carolina. This is how South Carolina under British authority was created. The Spanish had been there 100 years before. And they had established their little missions, their little Catholic missions. You know, they tried, but they failed. The British came and replaced them. We got to understand this. When we talk about reparations is not just the United States of America. It's Britain, it's Spain, it's France. They all were involved in enslaving our common ancestors on that same land, including the Native Americans. They owe us reparations too. And so this is the thing about it. This is the thing about it. So in 1670, them people migrated and they established the colony of South Carolina, or Carolina, named after King Charles. That's why the city was Charlestown. And so, of course, they took Africans with them. And the Africans they took with them, you have to understand the role that Barbados played at the time with the British colonization of the Western Hemisphere. Barbados was the main hub for Africans who were being taken from West and Central Africa by the British in particular and took in there to be broken in before they would be distributed to the other British colonies, the other British territories. So you might get broken in Barbados before you end up being sold to Jamaica. You might get broken in Barbados before you end up getting sold to North America. So Barbados is one of them places back then in those times. And so the people who went there, they was already hostile colonizers. They was already on it already. So they went there to establish a plantation economy. They went there to partake in the Middle Passage transatlantic slave trade. That's what they went there. That's what Carolina was established for. And so 2 years after that, 1672, in Sierra Leone, 27 miles away from where I'm sitting at. I live in central Freetown. I'm right in the heart of the city. 27 miles away from Freetown is a place called Bunce Island, B-U-N-C-E. They used to call it Bance, B-A-N-C-E, but it's called Bunce Island. Bunce Island is the largest slave fortress, quote unquote, from Senegal all the way down to Ivory Coast. And it was the primary place where Africans for up to 500-mile radius exited West Africa and went not to the Caribbean first, went from West Africa directly to Charleston, South Carolina, went from West Africa directly to Savannah, Georgia. They didn't go to the Caribbean first. So there was a direct middle passage connection between Bunce Island, Sierra Leone, and Charleston and Savannah. And so many ancestors came through that way, while others, a minority, came up through the Caribbeans. So those who came from the Caribbeans would have already been exposed to Creole and Patois, but that's not necessarily what it is. In Sierra Leone, they say that the name comes from the year 1462. That is 30 years before they say Columbus crossed the Atlantic. 30 years before that, there was a Portuguese navigator by the name of Pedro de Sintra who was here and seen this mountainous peninsula and named it the Lion Mountains, Sierra Leone. Now the British came and turned it into Sierra Leone. And so that's where the name comes from. It comes from the Portuguese and then adopted by the British, meaning Lion Mountains. So that's just to give you a time scale. We're talking about 1462, and we're talking about Portuguese people. Now they held this region, domination, until 1600. So about the first 200 years of the transatlantic slave trade in this region, it was controlled by the Portuguese. Then the British and them start getting involved. The British, the Dutch, the French. Then they start coming down and getting involved and pushing the Portuguese all the way down into Angola and taking over the rest of the trade on the coast. And so there was a trade in the Europeans that the Africans were trading with. One century they were trading with Portuguese. Next century they were trading with English. And so those people who were trading, these coastal communities that were literally frontline trading with these European people, begin to adapt a pidgin, a trade language. Now, pidgin is nobody's first language. Nobody talks to their babies in pidgin. If you're Mende, you talk to them in Mende. But if you go to the market to trade with the white man, you're going to talk this pidgin. And so that is the seed of all the Creoles in the West, is this pidgins that begin to develop as these Africans begin to trade with these Europeans here in Africa. So the pidgin seed of the diaspora Creoles is right here in West Africa. And so because so many Africans, particularly in 1672 when Bunce Island opened up, the primary principal location that they were sending Africans to was to the Carolina colonies. Now dig this, in 1750, well, from 1672 to about 1700, they were doing their thing from Bunce Island. Around that same time, the colonizers and the enslavers in South Carolina realized that an Asian variant of rice can grow according to their own thing. This is what they say. Although we know that our ancestors braided that rice into their hair, and only we knew how to grow it. So there's no way the white man just grew the rice and realized that, oh, rice grows. No, he realized we was growing rice, and he realized, yo, this could be a staple. And so you have two variants of rice. You have the Asian rice seed, and then you have the African rice seed. You don't have a rice seed that's indigenous to any other continent. And then the West African rice seed was first cultivated by the Mandang people, the people who speak Mandang language. There's over 40 different ethnic groups in this region: Mende, Mandinka, Bambara, Susu, Kono, Korenko, that all belong to this family of languages, language groups, these ethno-linguistic communities that have a common historical origins and roots. And so many of the people that they was taking from what they call the Rice Coast, from Senegambia down to Ivory Coast, was literally Mandang people. And so it's interesting when they say that they separated people based on tribe and didn't let people talk based on what tribe they were in, when in reality, you have many, many tribes that speak common languages. It don't make their narrative don't make sense to me, especially living in Africa and understanding how easy it is to beat that system. You know, as Africans. And so they eventually by 1750, there was a white man. He was Irish, but he was a British national. His name was Richard Oswald. He became the principal owner of Bunce Island. Before that, Bunce Island was established by the British, the British Royal African Company, BRAC. The British royal family is who first established these fortresses and established the slave trade. It wasn't just independent companies. But then in 1750, the British royal government gave it. They sold it to a private entity. And the principal owner of this commercial fort was a man named Richard Oswald. Now his best friend, or his #1 business partner, was a man named Henry Lawrence. Now in South Carolina, you got Lawrence, South Carolina, you got a whole county named after this book. And this guy, he was the #1 trade partner in Charleston with this white guy, Richard Oswald, in Sierra Leone. They have extensive records for the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of Africans they took from here and sent directly to Charleston. And then Henry Lawrence kept his own receipts. He was the #1 supplier of Africans from Sierra Leone in the history of North America. His name is Henry Lawrence. He once served as the president for the Continental Congress. That's the provisional government of the United States of America. He was the #1 slave trader to Sierra Leone, Bunce Island. He was so bad that he used to send ships from Charleston directly to Bunce Island to pick up our ancestors and bring them back. He sold the first 300 Africans to a man named Thomas Spaulding. Thomas Spaulding was an Irish dude. He was one of the colonizers of Georgia, and he inherited land on what we call now Sapelo Island. He got his first 300 enslaved Africans directly from Henry Lawrence. So this is how we got to understand these things. You got to dig up the records and know who's who and what is what. So the key is this. There is certain cultural characteristics that you'll find throughout the Gullah Geeche community. And a lot of them are strongly connected to this region. Now remember, Sierra Leone today is a neo-colony. These borders, these territories, that wasn't what they meant when they said Sierra Leone back then when they was putting it on the advertisements for Africans. Sierra Leone was a territory that went all the way up into Foday Ajamu, Guinea, all the way down into Liberia prior to the colonization of Liberia by America. And so this was a general region. When we said Sierra Leone, it meant that the region connected to Bunce Island trade. And if you go farther up, they say, well, that's Senegambia. Combined, that's called the Rice Coast. So if you need Africans to plant and grow rice proficiently in Charleston, in South Carolina, and Georgia, empire off of, then you need Africans from this region. You need Rice Coast, you need Manding, Rice Coast experts. Told you the Manding is the first to plant the rice seed. And the reason why they took women is because the women do the planting while the men do the brushing and the hard labor. The woman had the knowledge of the field, just like the man. So Manding people are farmers, warriors, fishers, but they're agricarians. And so when Sierra Leone, you gotta realize what was happening in Sierra Leone at the same time. So in the 1500s, around 1550, you have the arrival of a group of people known as the Manes or Manis. They were Mandinkas and other groups of people who were formerly in Mali. And as the Songhai Empire went down, as it rose and went down, these people started migrating from that region in the interior, in the east of Africa, in the east of this region, the coast, and start coming into the coast. Now, why would they come here? Because salt was worth more than gold, and the salt trade was cut off in the north by the Almoravids. It was cut off in the north by the Moors. They cut off the salt trade. They controlled that. And so while Mali was falling, it was looking for new resources, and salt was worth more than gold. The pepper from this region, Liberia, was worth more. These things had value in our own African economy. And so you have groups like the Vai, whereas the Vai are a break-off group of the Kano. And the Kano is a break-off group of Malis. And today you'll say that the Kano is one ethnic group and the Vais another ethnic group, but their history is that they're the same group that separated. So the same thing is with the group that we call the Mende, like the primary group that most African Americans who are taking DNA tests are coming back to. You understand? And so that's very, very important. That even the DNA testing is revealing what I'm saying. It's corroborating exactly what we know already as Gullah Geeche from the studies people have done on us and from what we know about learning and studying our own history and culture in our families. It resonates with us that this is a key connection. And so them Mandinka people, they came from a region or savanna area where it's grassland, it's flat, they were able to do agriculture, they didn't have a lot of rainforest, no bush. And this region is bushy. It's the first rainforest you meet in Africa coming from the north, the Gullah Forest, Gola, which is also believed to be one of the words that inspired us calling ourselves Gullahs on them plantations. Because you're taking people from a forest region where agriculturalists have come to dominate the region and introduce new iron tools and new methods for farming and information about how to work with waterways. Exactly what the European needed, exactly what the book with Carolina needed in order to make rice the cash crop of the North American colonies. And so if you know about Charleston, South Carolina and the particular port there, the Bookwers there had a particular taste for particular Africans, and it's distinct in different places. They wanted Africans who could grow rice. And Bunce Island is the largest slave fortress and the principal slave fortress connected to Charleston through its principal owner, Henry Lawrence, and his number one partner in the United States of America, former president of the Continental Congress, Henry Lawrence. And so these are the connections to Sierra Leone and Gullah Geeche. And it's more than that. We can talk about the cultural connections, the linguistic connections. The reason why the Creole in Sierra Leone and the Gullah Geeche Creole is so distinct, even more than Patois or the way that they talk Pidgin in Nigeria. The reason why it's so interchangeable is because they both come from the same seed Pidgin. The same Pidgin, the same trade language that was established through the Portuguese and the British in Sierra Leone was the seed of the Gullah Geeche language that we taught when we was making rice in South Carolina. So that's why we follow that syntax. That's why we follow that grammar. That's why we can hear this Creole like that. And then the second reason is that almost half of the 1,200 Black Americans, formerly enslaved Africans from the United States of America, only about 50 of them were actually born on the continent. So these would be classified as quote unquote first, second, third generation quote unquote African Americans, right? That came back to found Freetown, this city that I live in, and birthed the Creole ethnicity, language, and culture, which, I mean, it's the reason why right now Freetown and Charleston are sister cities. So if we went over there talking to Pidgin and we turned that Pidgin into a mother language, a Creole, and then some of them people came back and founded Freetown and birthed a Creole ethnic group. You gotta understand what the connection is between Gullah Geeche and Sierra Leone. It's two ways. For us, it's not just where our ancestors came from before they were enslaved, but where did our ancestors go back after they got free? Because our culture is our culture. We don't have to be directly lineage related to them people to be our common ancestors as an ethnic group. Malcolm X is my ancestor. He ain't gotta be my daddy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So those are our ancestors who fought for their freedom and protested to go back to Africa. And when we got here, we started the first protest against direct colonization. They brought us back and colonized us in Freetown Colony. The Sierra Leone Company was owned by white abolitionists from Britain. They ruled the colony, not us. We rebelled against that. So the first rebellions against colonization, direct colonization in West Africa or in African history came with that first group that founded Freetown. And so we don't know the history properly. We think about Liberia and then we let people discourage us from embracing it because they got it wrong. But Freetown we need to focus on, because we know for sure that the founders of Freetown, majority, other than 50 of them, were born in the United States of America, just like you, just like me.
Mm.
And so that's the main thing. Not only did many of the ancestors that came to be Gullah Geeches were targeted from specifically here and the rainforest region because of the kind of engineering knowledge they had to have. You know, they said that the Gullah Geeches put so much work into the corridor to make them giant rice fields that they did more construction to the natural layout of that land, of that coast, than what was done on the pyramids. Our ancestors worked. We had to create all kind of systems to control the water. We was creating tidal cultivation. As the tide would rise, we would capture it and then hold it so that even when it wasn't raining, we could still have rice. Europeans didn't know how to do that. It was us. We were the engineers. And so in all of that engineering and all that stuff like that, man, they said we did more work on that corridor than what the people in Kemet did on the pyramids. And so this is amazing, man. This is an amazing story that we're talking about. You took the people that you knew could grow rice to this level and knew that they were riverine people too. If you go to Sierra Leone, there's rivers running from the coast all the way up to the interior, just like South Carolina, just like Georgia. That these people would not be in foreign territory here. They would know this area, and they paid for it with the Gullah Wars because we did know how to survive in the bush. That's why we got bush secret societies here, to survive in the bush, to know how to survive in the bush. So that bush agriculture is specific to where the bush is at. Now, there is no bush in Senegal. It's here, this Gullah forest. This is why Gullah and Gullah is so important to connect together with everybody coming back Mende all of a sudden. Do you know that the majority of Mende people were absorbed into a smaller group that came from another place to make up the Mende? Those people who got absorbed were the indigenous people of the area, and they were forest, they lived in the forest. They were considered forest people. In fact, in the Mende language, they have a term called Gola and Blak. It means the forest people. They have stories about these people being strong and big, and everywhere the man goes, he carries his family. You know, they have stories about these people, and now they will be considered Mende people. You know what I'm saying? And because the ethnic is now called Mende. But these are some of the things we got to understand. These are some of the things we got to understand. They needed people who knew how to clear a forest. They needed people who knew how to plant rice. They needed people who know how to turn to catch the tides. They needed people like that. So because we know that they needed people with particular skills, and that there was this direct connection to Sierra Leone, Bunce Island, ever since 2 years after Charleston was founded, and we see the linguistic connections that we make the same baskets, the shukoblai, we call them shukoblai here. There they call them the sweet grass baskets. You know, that we eat okra here, crazy. Just like my mama. My mama eat okra, black-eyed peas, the same stuff they eat here, man. In the traditional sense. I ain't talking about the ones who came back from America. I'm talking about the traditional people eating these foods in the same similar ways as we do in America. And so it's very, very important, man, that we understand these connections. That if you take a person from Africa today and you put him on the moon, he leaves with his cultural heritage, he leaves with his knowledge, and he's going to have to apply that naturally in order to survive in that environment. And our ancestors were being particularly taken from this region, and they went to America and they started to apply that in a way that was not isolationist, but became popular. That everybody started talking like these people. That everybody started burying their dead like these people. That everybody felt free because these people were like they were free. They had 3 months, 4 months a year that they was to themselves on the plantation. Why? Because they could plant rice and the white man was scared of the mosquito. So it's very important that we understand these connections, bro. So long story short, because you asked me a question, I got off course. We formed a community of Gullah Geeche people that particularly adhere to the principles and ideology of Pan-Africanism, and particularly wanted to redeem the special connection, the connection between Gullah Geeche people and Sierra Leone, not the Gullah Geeche Cultural Heritage Corridor and Sierra Leone. The Gullah Geeche people, no matter where we are, there's some of us up in Nova Scotia, Canada. Some of us is down in Trinidad and Tobago. They call us Merkins. Some of us is in Mexico. So we're the descendants, the lineages are all over the place. But what about our special connection to Sierra Leone? And I'm not saying that we're only connected here. We're connected in many places. But Bunce Island is located 27 miles away from Freetown in Sierra Leone, which is Freetown is the first place of return. This is Sankofa City.
Tell us about your organization, brother. The GLU. I know my sister Sadami Lolak went. I think she went with your organization to go visit out there, man. Tell us about that, and also talk about how that flag came up.
Yeah, no problem.
The design.
So in 2015, where we formed this unincorporated association, the Gullah Nation of North America. Of course, I was here already. And because I was here, and not only just because of that, I was younger then. The elders and myself and others, we decided that we wanted to have a traditional structure to our community. That if we came to Africa, that it would be understandable and recognizable of who we are and how we're operating. So we chose to go the customary traditional system of chieftaincy that's in existence in Sierra Leone right now, which a chiefdom is literally the local level of government, and it's headed by a paramount chief that's selected by among the people. And then you have sections of a chiefdom headed by a sectional chief. And then you have villages that are headed by either a village chief or a headman. And so that's the structure right there. And then within at every level, you have advisory councils made up of elders and people who might have special qualities. And so this is how we chose to organize our Gullah Nation of North America community. So we ended up going through a process where we all unanimously decided that we wanted to start with a paramount chief that was based in the corridor, particularly. And the late brother, Baba Howard Hillary, he was like, yo, I'm ready to go. He was based in Savannah and Brunswick, Georgia. But he himself was a bloodline descendant of Bilali Muhammad of Sapelo Island. And so we felt like, well, that's what's up. He's an elder. You know, he definitely got some lineage with him. And he's a Pan-Africanist. He's ready to go with this Gullah thing. You know, he sees the problem. And so we had made him the paramount chief and gave him his honor, his respect as that. He appointed me as the international ambassador here in Sierra Leone. And we formed the Elders Council. And we began to do things. We began to create our little Facebook group, you know, had a little research team, had a radio program at one time. We started a petition. We tried to get people registered just so that they could identify. There's a lot of people out there who are Gullah Geeches that don't have a place where they can just identify. So we began to do these free registries to let our people know that, yo, it's a place for you. And so that's how the paramount chieftaincy was established within Gullah Nation of North America. Now, with that, he passed away. When he passed away, we tried again with a sister, because chieftaincy is not, for us, just a male thing. If a woman is fit, she can be the chiefess. And so we went with one. She went power crazy and thought it meant that she was a monarch, and almost tried to register Gonona in her own name. Whereas we have vowed not to register. It's an unincorporated association. We're the people representing ourselves. And so when she did that, the elder that she was trying to get to go along with her blew the whistle on her. And so she was impeached. After she was impeached, I was elected in General Assembly. Everyone was like, man, you have to do it. And I was against it. I was like, no, man, I'm in Africa. No, I'm cool. I'm doing this mission, this Gullah redemption mission. And so back in 2015, when we first appointed Howard Hillary as our paramount chief, he assigned me as international ambassador, and then I took the work that I was already doing here with Basani and proposed that we work together with Gullah and launch the Gullah Redemption Mission in Sierra Leone, which would be our mission, the work that we do in combination to make sure that Gullah Geeche people have a better and stronger relationship with Sierra Leone and vice versa, in terms of our own contribution to that. Not that we're the only people doing it, not that we're the only ones that got to do it, but in terms of how we see it and what we're doing, let's bring it all together. And so that Gullah Redemption Mission in Sierra Leone was started then. So let me say 2 years ago, 2019, we got wind that the impeached paramount chiefess was still promoting herself as being in that position. And it was unfortunate. We had to, we had a little public palaver with her first. Then we took our measures into our own hand, and we went ahead and just incorporated the Gullah Nation of North America as a community-based, as a nonprofit 501c3 organization. And so the community is there. Our elders are there. I'm the chief. We have our structure. But with that, we went ahead and created this nonprofit so that we can protect our name and also get involved in other areas of work. So we do have 501c3 status now. What we also did at that time was make sure that the mission that we were doing here in Sierra Leone got incorporated as well. So that there's no confusion, that everything is legal and legit, and that no one can use our name without having to see us. And so we ultimately found the people who was the Sierra Leone Gullah Kinship Association. And some of them came over to join us, and we went and we formed this international Gullah Redemption Mission Sierra Leone mission as a nonprofit company in Sierra Leone. So the nonprofit company is not an organization like a normal organization. We're able to do social enterprise venturing. So that social enterprise venturing that we do particularly is connected to our agricultural work, as well as our tourism work, which is we have a license for travel and as well as for tourism in Sierra Leone under the National Tourist Board. So those are machines where we train our people to be tour guides, we teach them the history and culture, and when y'all come, we turn you over to the people that we train and let them make some money and let them tell you what the country is, as opposed to coming and getting some real watered down tourism. And so it went down like that. Ultimately, in 2019, we did that. We incorporated. Basani also, even while we're a community-based organization in Sierra Leone, we went back now, and we're now a nonprofit registered in the United States of America as well. So all three of these organizations combined make up a multi-organizational structure. And we call that multi-organizational structure the Gullah Leone Union. The Gullah Leone Union. And of course, it's half of Gullah Geeche and half of Sierra Leone combined, Gullah Leone. We operate, we have a central planning, we have a central implementation, we have our media apparatus, the Gullah House Media, which, like you said, Sister Lola, our Minister of Information, is dynamically putting together along with Baba Singbe, just to keep the people informed of what we got going on. In 2019, when we did register, those three groups came together in their entity as their legal entities and entered an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and they did it so that now we can formally function as one under this name. And so that's what it is. We have the Gullah Leone website, www.gullahleone.org. And that's pretty much what we're doing. So some of the work that we're doing here focuses on several areas. One area, of course, we're doing tourism. That's more of a social enterprise. That's not the main thing that we do. We do aggressive community outreach. We do a lot of youth outreach. We have a headquarters called the African Diaspora Village, where our Gullah House office is located. It's situated on 1.5 acres of land that we rent, and we do urban gardening there. We do urban farming there. We also run our administrative affairs from there nationwide. in this country. Right now, we are doing our 4th year of the Tools and Seeds Farmers Assistance Project. It hasn't been easy because we're learning as we go. And but this year will definitely, without a doubt, be the most successful harvest that we've seen. And because we've been able to expand our program from 1 village to 2 villages now. And so Tools and Seeds is a program where, on one hand, we seek to combat malnutrition. And on the other hand, we're fighting against, we're fighting for food, for more food production to meet that need. And so many people we find have a lot of land and they have a lot of knowledge about planting food, but they don't have the financial resources to get started, and they don't have a body of support that will be able to help them understand the entrepreneur and business side of sustaining their farming. Most people here do subsistence farming. You have 50 people in the village and everybody got their own little plot. And so we go in and work directly with the chiefs and their elders and their secret societies, their organizations, and we come up with a united plan to start a community farm that will only be for that purpose, for community. It doesn't belong to any single individual. And so in one place, we've been able to clear, and we're farming 12 acres. We're doing rice there, pepper there, some cassava there, just small crops this year. And then the other place, which is Jamakoa. It's in Moyamba district. It's a Mende location, Mende chiefdom. And we have 35 members of our organization there, of our movement there, where they are our on-call volunteers. They do the work on the ground. So we partner with them through this Tools and Seeds program. And now we started by clearing 12 acres of land. We cleared it thinking that, okay, we're going to do cassava, do some pepper, maybe grow some beans, diversified farming. So after that, it belongs to the community. It don't belong to us, the company. It belongs to the community. And so we do that because you have to be able to contribute to the communities that you want to work with, that you want to belong to. You can't just come and just sit down on people like that, where they don't even have a system of community farming established, and you know how to do it. And so we go right to that, feed the people immediately. So we did that, and the government heard about Gullah Redemption Mission Sierra Leone opening up those acres and our intentions. And they brought in 2 tractors, and they cleared over 100 acres more. And now they're going to be providing rice seeds so that we can do a rice plantation on that 100 acres. So this is the kind of thing that we're doing. We're actually going down to the grassroots rural communities in the villages. We also live in the city, so we're very, very related to the urban culture of the country right now. We know the youth, we know the people, we know the media personalities, we know government people. So we've already been here long enough to be able to really sit down and develop these programs. Another thing we do is we do the Be Clean campaign. The Be Clean campaign is a campaign where we push for cleanliness, awareness around cleanliness, particularly in markets and particularly as it relates to hygiene. So on one hand, we've been cleaning markets periodically, communities periodically, maybe about 4 or 5 times a year. We do these massive mobilizations. And in order to do them, we have to go and meet the people and plan it and organize it and fundraise. You see us fundraising online, it's not a game. This is where it goes to. Ain't no scamming going on, bro. Not over here. What you see, what you get. And so when we call for that support, it goes right where it's supposed to go, and you see it. That's why we have the policy of transparency and showcasing what we do. And so we do that. We clean King Jimmy, which is a historical site that people live in, that's a slum dwelling. And we've been empowering those people. We have 150 members in the 2 communities that make up that area, 75 in each area. And we're about to go back down there and really get them hip to the community-based tourism, get them trained as tour guides, get them some first aid training, some firefighting training, because if anything happens down there, they're going to be probably the only responders. And so we want to make sure that they're capacitated in that way. We also are embarking on a 25-school tour. That tour is to spread the knowledge of the Gullah-Leone relationship, the the Gullah Geeches and Sierra Leoneans, the cultural heritage, as well as to do a workshop on the proper times and ways to clean your hands with soap, because so many people get sick here because people don't have a good hand cleaning sanitation practice. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty. A baby can live longer if they're not poisoned by typhoid because their mother forgot to clean her hands after taking a dookie. You understand? So we have to be on the, this is how you minimize the risk. So we're minimizing risk through our work and also increasing the amount of food available. So that's it. The Gullah Leone Union is all of that in one. And when you hear Basani, you hear Gonona, you hear Gullah Redemption Mission Sierra Leone, you hear Many Roots, One Fambo, Forward March. It's all one movement in motion. And so that's who we are. Sister Lola is our Minister of Information. And recently she's been moved up. In fact, she'll be serving as the Vice President for the Gullah Nation of North America 501c3. And also the Gullah Redemption Mission in Sierra Leone has made her our international ambassador. So definitely stay connected with the sister. She's a queen. She came out here, had a beautiful, great time. And let me just say this, man. It's not tourism. It's not like where, you got enough money, I'm going to hit Chief up, and when I go to Sierra Leone, I'm going to get with him. No, the people that you see coming, they're executives in Gullah Leone Union. We came here and launched the international movement on the same day as the 60th anniversary of Sierra Leone's independence. And we got a video coming about that. And, we're servicing our people as much as we can on both sides. And that's really what it's about, bro. So after I was made the Gullah Paramount Chief for Gullah Nation of North America, which of course don't mean I'm the Paramount Chief for all the Gullah Geeches, don't mean that me and Queen Quet got a beef, none of that shit. It means that for our particular community of Gullah Geeches that think this way and are involved in this work, we have our own status, we have our own situation, we have our own governance, we have our own self-determination, our own autonomy. And with that, I serve as the Paramount Chief. Now, what happened is that I also was recognized here in Sierra Leone among my family, the Mandinka people that I went back to who adopted me and made me Foday Ajamu Mensere, and honored me with giving me my title, giving me my name back. Later, when they realized that, you've been appointed the Paramount Chief for Gullah Nation of North America, well, we need to recognize you here too because you've been putting in work over here. And we got brothers and sisters who are in the diaspora that won't step foot in Sierra Leone again. You a chief, boy. We recognize you. So they literally made me a chief. They made me a chief. They made me a chief ambassador, quote unquote, to the Gullah Geeche and the African diaspora for their community. Just like I'm working for my community, they're working for their community. And so, and so that is the relationship. Among Mandingo people, I went through a traditional coronation process that if I step foot in any Mandingo village or community and I say I'm Chief Foday Ajamu Mensere and say what I'm saying to you, I will get the absolute high respect from the chief. Because of the way that I became a chief is not on a tourism kick. And the work that I do is not tourism kick. We out here feeding communities. We out here digging wells. We out here educating youth. We out here doing the work of chiefs. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the difference between the way that I am a chief and the way that many of these people who are coming back are becoming chiefs. And they might get honor and respect within the place where they chief them, but they won't go to another place and it be exactly the same. It's just the reality of it. It's the way that the system runs here. I'm a Mensere. Mensere means the children of the Mansa, or sons, or the descendants of the Mansas. Now, Mensere is spelled Mansaray. And Guinea is spelled a different way because of the French. But in Mandingo, it's called Mansading. And Mansa Dane means the lineage descendants of the Mansas of Mali. These are the people who claim direct bloodline lineage from Kankan Mansa Musa, from Sunjata Keita, and from all the other Mansas of that epoch, of that era. And so these people still exist. They moved from Mali and came down into Sierra Leone. The family that I got adopted into migrated from San Karen, Kankan, which is the location where Leone is at. Leone was the capital of Mali Empire. And so that's what it means when I say I'm a Mansouré, and that the Mansouré people are the ones who said, you are one of us, and here, we coronate you as a chief. So let people in this country and out there know that we crown you. And so it's actually two crownings that we're talking about.
Last question, brother. Talk about the work you do with our brother RJ Mahdi out of Senegambia.
No doubt, RJ. Man, you know, it's so many people coming back to the continent, man. It's a beautiful time. When I got here in 2013, man, it wasn't like this. It wasn't buzzing like this, especially not Sierra Leone. But RJ is one of the brothers that actually came here in the early 2000s, with, I believe, with his mother, and was in Senegal, made some friends already, was doing his thing, and went back to America and ultimately moved here a few years ago with his family, and has been taking all of his skills and talents that he's learned by, you know, working for them people over there in them corporations, and his experience and his desire to really assist our people, man, and turn it into a business, turn it into an organization, turn it into a media platform, and a whole bunch of services that our people are able to come and meet on the ground in Senegal, as long as they get with RJ. And I believe that that is a very powerful move to make. So he's one of the brothers that I admire greatly here on the continent right now. Another one is Baba Obadele Kambon, dynamic brother on the continent. And the thing about,
oh yeah,
instance,
shouts out to Bibi Toomey.
Yeah, shout out to Bibi Toomey. Yeah. So the main thing about it is that, and there's some gallant, some great sisters out here doing the work too. Dynamic sisters out here doing the work. There's more sisters out here doing the work than men, than the brothers. That's reality. And so when it comes to like serving the community, making sure people got services, we out here doing our thing. I think that Baba Kambon is education route, repatriation route, re-Africanization route, strictly. He don't play with nobody. He ain't worried about no YouTube. He ain't worried about no likes. He ain't worried about no subscribers. You gotta go to abibitoomey.com, become a member, and support Black media. You know, and so our own ancestry, because it's grand. So I particularly understand that the apple don't fall too far from the tree with Baba Obadele Kambon. So I definitely admire that brother's work as well. I say it because there is really no comparison, but what happens is that RJ is focusing on providing the services that we need in repatriating, and not only in Senegal. As soon as COVID hit, me and RJ already been kind of talking back and forth, you know, what's up, bro, how you doing? Yeah, what's going down in Sierra Leone? Man, we doing this, we doing that. What's up there? We doing this, we doing that. And so if you remember, last year, 2020, RJ, the Exodus Alliance, we held the Africa Day, 2-day social media, you know, showcase. All kinds of people from all around the world, Pan-Africans from all around the world was featured on, went on, said some things, did some things. Well, that was organized by the Exodus Alliance. The Exodus Alliance is 6 organizations that have come together particularly to take the guesswork out of repatriation, to make it safer, to make it more practical, to make it more successful at the end of the day. And so these 6 organizations, one of them being Basani, another one being the Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program, by Sister Ya down in Ghana. Another one is the Made in Africa, and what's the other one? I believe it's the Al-Kibulan. Then you have the UNIACL, and then you have the State of the African Diaspora, which are two, I would say, entities that function in more of a governmental kind of capacity within. They do organizational work. They might do their business, but they claim to operate as more of government entities. And so all six of them combine to make up the Exodus Alliance. And that's RJ's child. That's RJ's brainchild, man. You know what I'm saying? Well, I didn't create that. RJ reached out like, yo, we need to squad up. You know? And the reason why we really got on it like that was because of COVID. When COVID hit, the amount of people interested in Africa quadrupled. Because in 2009, you had the year of return. Over 1 million Africans from the diaspora returned, particularly to Ghana, and left over $1 billion in that economy. We're still asking for citizenship there. And then here come COVID, like right at the same time. So when that happened, man, I guess that energy mixed with that situation, man, my inbox, my DMs started going crazy. Everybody wanted to know what they can know about Sierra Leone. And then we realized that people, the same people, was going to Sister Ya in Ghana for the same questions, and going to Brother RJ in Senegal for the same questions. So we said, you know what? We need to come together. We need to come together, man. We need to come together and serve our people. And Brother RJ kicked the initiative. I mean, I think we all seen that the capacity was there because we're all friendly with each other, man. We're not competing. You know what I'm saying? If I go to Ghana, man, I'm gonna go hook up with Sister Ya, and I'm gonna go hook up with Baba Odeli instantly, because I respect them. I know the work that they're doing. They've been out for years. They're not newcomers. If I go to Senegal, I'm going to the RJ, man. If you want to know who to go to in Senegal, I'm gonna tell you, go to RJ Mardi, man. Trust your people. Everybody ain't fake. Everybody ain't fugazi. Everybody ain't playing no games with this life. And so, if you really got real people out here that's like, yo, come through. I got you, man. And they really got you. And you keep seeing it over and over again, because they got other people when they come. We, the people who make up this Pan-Africanist movement, this RBG, and we understand that Exodus and Sankofa is necessary. It don't gotta be a full-time, just like your job. You can come here 3 months a year. Have your business established, do your thing, go home, run your business. You can run your business online from here. We're already doing it. So it's like, it's less of an excuse to not come, because at least you know that there's an Exodus Alliance on deck. And last year there was a lot of drama going on coming out of Gambia. And at some point, man, it was said that a brother threatened a sister, and the power of having an alliance on the ground is that we were able to get the different parties together and do a private mediation as Exodus Alliance. We was able to get professionals and other people to help try to resolve the issue. And I believe that we were able to assist in putting that fire out, so to speak. And also maintain the integrity of repatriation, that everybody ain't out here doing juke moves, man. Some people need to be checked. Some people need to be checked. But not everybody, man. Some of us out here dedicated, devoted, putting in the work and waiting for y'all to get here, man. So shout out to RJ. That's what we're doing, man. Right now we provide, RJ created a club. It's called the Exodus Club. And anybody who's out there that will want to come to any of the countries where we have Exodus Alliance members who are trained to be professional consultants to help you with your relocation and your investments, your traveling. Sister Ya is your person in Ghana, and there's several others. We got several in Gambia, we got several in Senegal, we got some in Sierra Leone, we got one in Kenya. So this alliance is expanding. It's being comprised of those who are repatriates and those who have been supporting us in our repatriation. The continentals on the ground who have received us, who have showed us the right way so that we can show you. We're still all here together waiting for the rest of the family. And so when you see the trip that you're talking about that happened in April, you had 58 African Americans and one African from the UK get their citizenship in Sierra Leone because they was able to present African ancestry DNA test results and meet the requirements to get an automatic citizenship. And so you see that,
Wow.
but you don't see how, you don't understand what we're doing behind the scenes. You don't understand how we're working or what it's like for us on the ground that's seeing it happen. You know what I'm saying? Or you don't know the people. We actually meet the people. So we know what kind of black people we're meeting. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We know what kind of skin folk it is. On up close and personal. From our own conscious, analysis, how we would categorize, man, this dude's a lame. Man, this motherfucker's a jerk. Hey, man, look at this coon. The people here can't do that. They just see black, American, and money.
Right.
But me, I'll be like, yo, you come here to confuse these people and exploit them? And it's more and more and more happening because there is no safeguard here. And so that's another important part for why we're doing the Exodus Alliance. So that when there's issues among repatriates, we have the ability to go in and mediate the situation. Also, that we're able to understand all sides of this. Who's coming back, how they're being received, how they're treating the people, how the people are treating them when they come back, and making sure that we're not being taxed, we're not being targeted and victimized. You need people on the ground to be able to have that kind of respect and ability for you if you haven't been here yet. And so we focus more on that because some people want to visit, some people want to repatriate, some people just want to invest. And we are literally here and able to assist anybody with that. And if it was just me, you would say, oh man, that's just cheap. But now you understand it's an alliance of us. And we have packages. We have the platinum package is $1,000. You pay $1,000, you have a lifelong consultancy, and you have our assistance fully with your repatriation and your relocation and your investment services. So you will always be able to pick up the phone and contact one of the consultants in the Exodus Club. RJ is our chief consultant. Man, he has done a masterful job. I wish more people would really link up with bro and see what he actually put together, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you are a Pan-Africanist. If you're one of the Muslim brothers out there, if that's your faith. RJ is a Muslim, a pious Muslim. He tries his best to do it. I've seen him several times where people go over there. He takes them to some of the most prominent traditional communities in the Senegambia and connect people up. That's what it's about, connecting you with the real deal. And that's what you see during those trips. So shout out to RJ, man. Shout out to Rashad, man. He's a very good brother. And his wife, Aaliyah.
Absolutely, man. Powerful couple, powerful movement going on, man. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, brother. I thank you for coming on, man, and dropping all those jewels, all that knowledge about the people, man. I know everybody enjoyed it, man. I'm getting messages as we on the air, thanking me for having you on, man, because you came right off the dome with all the history, man. No faking, no fronting, just real history. And a lot of people have heard of Gullah, they've heard of Geeche, they've heard of the connection of Sierra Leone, but they didn't know how to tie it together. And you just did that for so many people, man. So I appreciate you, brother. Until next time, man, like, share, subscribe to the channel, support brother, support the chief, support what he's got going on, check him out. He dropped all his information in this video. So, get involved, get active, man. I'm your brother as always, Blak Pantha, man. Peace to the family.
Peace, bro.